everybody, it's Pastor Matthew here for your Children's Praise video. I'm glad to be able to be with you this morning as we do our Bible lessons from week to week. And the one thing I'd like to talk to you about today is being clean, cleanliness. And I think we know what that is like, to be clean, to have to wash our hands or take a shower sometimes, or if you're outside playing and your clothes get all dirty in the mud, or your shoes become black from walking through the puddles. I mean, we can just get dirty so many different ways. We get dirty all the time. We have to brush our teeth. We have to comb our hair. We have all these things we have to do all the time to make ourselves clean. And I want you to think about that this morning. I'd like us to think about what it means to be clean. Because the way God describes being clean as being clean is like being close to Him. Because God, we're told that God is very, very clean, which means that He's very holy and He's very righteous, and He has these attributes that make Him very good. And so the difference between Him and us is that we tend to get dirty, where He always remains clean. And so there's this place in Matthew 23 where Jesus actually talks about being clean. And the reason He's talking about it is because He's angry, actually. Jesus is very angry in Matthew 23. We'll go to that verse. Matthew 23:25. It's where Jesus gets actually angry at the Pharisees and the scribes and the Pharisees because they weren't clean. But they acted like they were clean. They tried to make themselves look clean, but they actually really weren't clean. This is why Jesus called them, and this is a good word to know. Jesus called them hypocrites because they acted like one thing, but in reality they were something else. A hypocrite means someone who wears a mask, and we just actually had Halloween a few weeks ago, and that's actually what it means to be a hypocrite. To be a hypocrite means that you actually are wearing a mask. That's what the word hypocrite is referring to. So on Halloween, if you actually went out trick-or-treating, you pretended to be something that you really weren't. So you were being hypocritical. You were putting on a mask or a cape or some type of gown or some type of dress, some costume that you normally don't wear all the time. You normally don't wear it every day. It's not who you are. It's you pretending to be something you're not, just for a few hours one night. But the problem with being a hypocrite in the whole course of your life is that it's not a game. It's actually not like trick or treat where we're just pretending or playing make-believe. Hypocrisy is a real thing that we struggle with as adults, and we also struggle with it as children. So Jesus calls these scribes and Pharisees in Matthew 23. He calls them blind and hypocritical. And he says because they don't actually love good things like justice, mercy, and faithfulness. They weren't very loving people. They weren't really concerned about what is right, what is just, and they weren't really concerned about being merciful, about caring for people that weren't like them, and caring for people that didn't have their life put together. Or at least you could tell they didn't seem to be having their life put together. And so they were very judgmental. They were the kind of people that would point the fingers at other people, but never point the fingers at themselves. They would always evaluate other people and be very critical of other people, but not very critical about themselves. And when people do that, when they're very critical of other people, but not critical about themselves, that's what makes people hypocritical, because they're never actually looking at themselves and evaluating themselves and to see themselves as God might see them. Maybe they do have some faults or some dirt. Maybe they have dirt on their hands or on their feet. If you ever went out and had dinner, maybe with your family just around the house, or if you went somewhere out at maybe at a restaurant, it's kind of embarrassing if you get food on your face. And the funny thing about that is no one that has food on their face actually knows, except for everyone else around the room. So if you have food, say you have food somewhere on your cheek like this, you would never know that unless you were able to see yourself in a mirror. But everyone else can see you, and they see the food on your face. They see the dirt, but you don't see it. That's called being hypocritical. You're not able to see those kind of things. And so here's what Jesus had to say to them. He said in Matthew 23:25, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and plate, that the outside also may be clean." That's a pretty neat thing that Jesus said. He just said that those scribes and Pharisees, those people that were being hypocrites, were just like the dishes or the cups or the plates that we use every day at our house. If your parents ask you to clean the dishes and you don't really clean the dishes, but you just kind of scrape off some food or whatever's in the cup, after a while and it sits there and everything dries, your mom or dad are going to know that you really didn't clean, your cup, because it might look good on the outside, but when you actually look inside the cup, you realize it's really dirty and not clean at all. And so that's actually how Jesus describes these people. And you and me, we should look at them not as being those people over there, but Jesus is actually talking to me, and he's talking to you, and saying that we should not be like the scribes and the Pharisees, who were very hypocritical, because they weren't able to see their own sins, and they were not humble enough to admit when they were wrong. And then you start hiding things. Maybe there's things in your life that you like to hide so that other people won't see you, but you can only hide so well, and you can never hide from God. So this is how God usually would see our life. On the outside of this cup, you could say, right? It's clean and white. And we're good at doing this. We can keep our life clean and white and pure, and it appears well. It appears like it's not a bad cup. And then you look on the inside, and you see how dirty it is. And it has all this residue and soot, and the dregs, you could say, rather the dregs from the drink earlier are now all dried, and they're all dirty, and they're crusted on the inside. Now this is how people see you. If you want them to see you this way, you can make them see you this way. But this is how God can see you if he looks inside you, because God can see everything. And so you might look this way, and other people might look this way to you, but on the inside, this is how you could look to God, and this is how other people look to God. So what exactly would this be? What's on the inside of you that makes you dirty? Why is it that Jesus says that we can look like this, but really be like this? The reason, and this is where we'll look at another Bible verse today. We'll look at another Bible verse in Mark. And it's Mark chapter 7. And your teachers will help you with these Bible verses. You can talk about them later after the video. In Mark chapter 7, we talk about how people become defiled. And defiled is just a really fancy word for being dirty. How do we become dirty? So in other words, how do we become like this? Right? How does that happen? Now, Jesus corrects us on a misunderstanding. See, with this cup at one time was clean. And the way it got dirty is that we poured a drink in here. And then that drink, when it was all dried up, left over this dirty residue. So what had to happen was a drink of some kind had to go inside the cup to make it dirty. Now normally, the way people think is, I need to stay away from dirty things so that I don't get dirty, right? But that's actually not the way it works for us. We get dirty not from what we just put inside ourselves, but really from what comes out of us. And so when I say that, I mean our thoughts. From inside, our thoughts make us dirty. If you have bad thoughts, or say you're really jealous with somebody, and maybe one of your friends is going to get, in a few weeks from now, one of your friends is going to get a puppy for Christmas. And you'll think, man, I really wish I had a dog. And you become really angry with your friend or jealous, that's just not a good, you should be just happy for your friend, that's all. That would be a good thought. But a dirty thought would be anger or jealousy. And when you have those thoughts on the inside of you, that's what makes you dirty. That is what makes you look like this to God, right? So this is how Jesus says it. He says, what comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts and sexual morality, and theft and murder and adultery and covetousness and slander and pride and foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. They come from inside here, and when they go out, when your thoughts go out, or when they come out through your words or your actions, that's what makes you look dirty to God. So all we have to do is, when we have these things that make us dirty, we give them to Jesus, and we ask for him to forgive us, and he will make what we want to look like, clean on the outside, also clean on the inside. And so talk that over and pray about it this morning. And I will see you again.